Antimicrobial drug resistance, or AMR, is the fourth leading cause of global deaths.
The World Health Organization, or the WHO, has estimated about 10 million people to be killed by 2050 due to antibiotic resistance.
When we are healthy, our immune system fights infectious organisms, and when we catch infections, antibiotics help us fight them. However, infections can get fatal, especially in young children and old patients whose immunity is weak. We are reaching a point where the antibiotics are rendered useless because the disease-causing microorganisms are gaining resistance to them. These are called superbugs. Statistics sometimes do not wake us up, but a loss of a near and dear one can indeed give us a big jolt. The patient died of an infection because the multiple bacteria that caused the infection had gained resistance to most of the available antibiotics. As the last resort, very toxic drugs were given to him, which eventually led to multi-organ failure, followed by him succumbing to infection. This is not an isolated case. It is indeed a grim picture. The medical practitioners are aware of the impending threat looming large upon us, but do not have alternatives to offer. WHO and other health organizations have time and again cautioned against misuse of the antibiotics and stated several reasons for AMR. They are self-medication, sharing of one's prescription with friends and family, OTC, over-the-counter availability of the antibiotics, leaving the antibiotic course midway on getting symptomatic relief, indiscriminate use of antibiotics in rearing poultry and in crops. Here we appeal to all to use the antibiotics, hailed as the wonder drugs, judiciously and with great caution. So, what to do when one of us gets infected with superbugs? Is it the time of total despair and submission to the situation? Or do we have an option around? An alternate therapy that needs to be understood and practiced?
There is a therapy which is fast becoming popular or regaining its lost importance. Bacteriophages, or phages in short, are small viruses that are natural killers of target bacteria. Phage therapy is a therapeutic use of bacteriophages which can kill their target bacteria specifically and hence can treat bacterial infections. Phage activity was first identified from Ganga River in India in 1896 by British scientist Ernest Hankin, but he did not know what it was. In 1915, another British scientist, Frederick Thwart, identified phage activity, but he didn't know what it was either. Finally, French microbiologist Félix de Herelle realized phage were a virus and experimented with the possibility of phage therapy.
They are very specific, are found in abundance in nature, in our body and in the environment, soil, rivers, ponds and oceans, and in sewage. They are inexpensive and safe for humans, as evident by their large and benign presence. They can be easily isolated from sewage, soil or water samples by using simple microbiological techniques. Here the young researchers are seen to use a soil sample as a source of phages against a bacterium. It typically takes 1 to 2 days of incubation for phages to appear, seen as clear zones on the Petri plates on which bacteria are cultured if the collected sample has phages. Phages are then purified to remove toxic impurities, if any, and are stored under refrigerated conditions and for long-term storage under sub-zero temperatures. Phage preparations are tested for their ability to kill the bacteria found in clinical specimen of infected patients by a procedure similar to how antibiotics are routinely tested in clinical laboratories. How about we recruit them for treating drug-resistant infections? Recently, a very promising case study of a 69-year-old patient from United States suffering from infection by an antibiotic-resistant bacterium. All the antibiotics had failed in his case, and then the doctor decided to treat him with bacteriophages that were given as emergency investigational new drug approved by the Food and Drug Authority. The doctor Robert Chip Schooley, MD, Chief of the Division of Infectious Diseases in the UC San Diego School of Medicine and primary physician on the case, told,
Tom had developed abdominal pain and was unable to eat, and he was hospitalized here at UC San Diego just before Christmas. There had not been a lot of experience with treating people with bacteriophage, and almost none giving it intravenously in the US. So we relied on some of the literature from the Soviet Union, but a lot of it was really being worked out kind of on a first patient basis as we went, using a combination of the previous literature, our own intuition about how these phage would circulate, and advice from people who'd been thinking about it for a long time.
many countries in East Europe such as Georgia, Russia, Poland have been using bacteriophages to treat bacterial infections. But unfortunately, phage therapy is not even known to most in the medical community.
Now the big question is, why are bacteriophages not included as therapeutics in the mainstream medicine when it is being successfully practiced in some parts of the world?
Before the 40s, it was quite widely approved and used in many countries in Europe, in the US, but after adventure of the antibiotics, just West forgot about it. But the former Soviet Union developed it as an alternative to the antibiotics, and it was the huge consumption of the phage preparations against bacterial infections. Now the conception is being changed somehow. I can notice during the last years, 1 or 2 years. Now people are becoming more aware. Maybe the first reason is just lack of information. They just do not know about phages. The second is they're scary because it's a virus. And when we are talking about the virus is also always bad with the understanding of people. But this is very specific virus. It's only bacterial virus. It kills only bacteria and host bacteria.
We have a case right here from our country who benefited from phage therapy. Pranav, a 33-year-old who runs his family business of publishing in New Delhi, was suffering from prostatitis with multiple infections from drug-resistant bacteria. Pranav and his wife narrate the story to us.
I had a prostatitis infection. My prostatitis infection was caused by multiple strains of bacteria.
Initially, we just expected कि ठीक है, बीमार है, and he will get fine. We went to the doctor prescribed antibiotics. He said, हाँ ठीक है, ले लो, ठीक हो जाएगा. But as weeks turned into months and he was not getting okay, and we were all really worried.
I tried antibiotics first. I went to various senior urologists here in Delhi, and they put me on various antibiotics to try and eliminate my infection. But over 2 months of trying out various antibiotics orally and intravenously, nothing worked. My symptoms kept getting worse.
Simple infection is not getting treated with antibiotics, and there's nothing else that the doctors had to offer. And it's completely his own research that brought up phage therapy for us.
I tried to get in touch with some scientists in India who I thought might know about bacteriophage therapy. Everyone seemed to know what bacteriophages were, but no one had come across the use of bacteriophages to treat human infections.
When he told us about phage therapy, we were apprehensive about it, because after all, you're putting something inside the body which you have no idea about. But as he told us more about the research that he has done, as he showed me the research papers that he had read, and I went through them as well, the science was very simple to understand. It's like nature's answer to bacteria.
While I've been there, I've met patients from various different countries of the world. I've met people from the US, I've met people from France, I've met people from UK who have come there for treatment. I've met other patients who are suffering from prostatitis where antibiotics have failed for them.
Pranav's case is definitely a remarkable and unprecedented example and seems to be the only non-Indian who benefited from age-old forgotten therapy.
However, given the threat of multi-drug resistance across the globe, bacteriophages sure offer a promising therapeutic potential and can be used as investigative drugs for terminally ill patients to begin with. Through this film, an appeal is made to all the stakeholders, to the government and the corporate world to fund this phage research, to medical authorities and the scientists to investigate the potential of bacteriophages and their enzymes as therapeutics. Build repositories of well-characterized bacteriophages against drug-resistant clinical isolates of bacteria. Conduct the clinical trials.
Let's strike before the global threat of AMR strikes us badly. Every life saved is a new life given.